Hey there, podcast lovers. Looking for a fresh take on the world? Tune into Nikki's World, where we dive into everything hitting the headlines and chat about just what's on our minds. No filters, just real talk. Whether you're sipping your morning coffee or unwinding after a long day, Nikki's World is your go-to for genuine commentary on the real world. Subscribe now if you want to hear the real deal on what's going on. Join the conversation on Nikki's World, where every episode feels like catching up with an old friend. Don't miss out.
What's up, y'all? Let's do this.
Oh, hi guys, welcome to Nikki's World. I'm Nikki, your host, and today, guys, we gotta talk about trans terrorism again because trans terrorism has struck close to home in my next door neighboring state of Rhode Island. We gotta talk about that and so much more. But before we go any further, guys, if you guys love Nikki's World so much, seriously, y'all, can y'all please consider donating a cup of coffee for me? Because for a price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and Cumberland Farms, guys, you guys help keep this podcast show alive. You guys help me curate more stories, more topics like this to talk about. I do accept Bitcoin donations. I am on Ko-fi, guys. If you guys want to support, sponsor, donate, tip, and commission me for a modeling photo shoot. If you guys love Nikki's World so much, seriously, y'all, please hit that like, subscribe, please give me a review, good, bad, and the ugly. Also, guys, I do have a bunch of affiliate links we got to go through. First off is Minds.com. Minds.com is a Connecticut-based social media platform. They are an awesome alternative to Facebook. So if you guys value your right to freedom of speech like I do, and you guys want to be able to say stuff without fear of being blocked, suspended, or deplatformed, well then, ladies and gentlemen, head on over to my friends at Minds.com. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I do have the most awesome, and I mean the most awesome affiliate link with Burner. Burner is the less lethal self-defense company, guys. They make their top-of-the-line Burner SD, Burner LE, TCR, Mission 4, and their newest, guys, their compact launcher. So if you guys value your right to the Second Amendment and your right to self-defense, but you guys want to do it in a less lethal manner, well then, ladies and gentlemen, head on over to my friends at burner.com. And full disclaimer, ladies and gentlemen, I do own a Burner LE myself. And finally, guys, I do have the most awesome, and I mean the most awesome affiliate link with North Shore Medical Supply. North Shore Medical Supply, they make their top of the line North Shore Megamax diaper, North Shore Supreme pull-up, their North Shore Supreme diaper, and their Eterna boosters. So if you know somebody out there that needs to wear adult diapers, that needs to be put in adult diapers like I am, guys, well then, ladies and gentlemen, send them on over to my friends at North Shore Medical Supply, and they will make sure that they are diapered up and padded up as always. Ooh, and before we get this show on the road, guys, if you guys love this episode and any of my other episodes on Nikki's World, seriously, guys, can y'all please consider sharing this across all the social media platforms that are out there today? Wait, holy shit, yeah. Holy shit, that was a mouthful. And yes, guys, I am diapered up as always in my North Shore Megamax diapers, along with my Eterna boosters and my onesies from Little Comforts. So I'm diapered up, padded up as always. Let's get on with the show, shall we? So this week, guys, trans terrorism has struck again, guys. Yeah, trans terrorists have struck again, and this time it struck close to my neighborhood in the next door state in Rhode Island. Okay, I'll read you this post from the New York Post. Rhode Island trans dad Robert Dorgan killed son, ex-wife, and critically wounded grandparents. Okay, read you this. Read I'll read you this headline. The first paragraph of it. A transgender killer, Robert Durgan, murdered his 23-year-old son, ex-wife, and critically wounded her parents, or his parents, or her parents, at a Monday's horrifying massacre in Rhode Island high school hockey game. It was revealed Tuesday. Okay? Tragic. Aiden Dorgan had just graduated from college as an engineer, designing a robot to hand out Halloween candy as part of his studies, and had gotten engaged last year. Okay? And Aiden's mom, Rhonda, Dorgan's 52-year-old ex, who was slain alongside her son, was meanwhile a beacon of light and the sweetest loving person on earth, her pal wrote on Facebook. So here's the thing. You got this trans terrorist murdered his ex-wife, his son, and wounded the grandparents. You wonder why, ladies and gentlemen, these people should not be allowed to own a gun. These people should never, ever be allowed to own a firearm ever again. These people, in my opinion, guys, should never be allowed to possess a gun. The fact that this dude, who is the ex-husband, who pretends and identifies as a woman, has mental illness. These people should not be allowed to own a gun. These people should never ever be allowed to own and possess a firearm. I don't fucking care about your feelings or your identity and bullshit. I don't care. The fact of the matter is, guys, these people are mentally unhinged. These people are mentally unstable. For them to identify as an opposite sex, take dangerous cross-sex hormones and dangerous surgeries, and on top of that, have mental illnesses, these people should be banned from ever owning a gun. These people should literally be banned from ever owning and possessing a firearm. I'll say it for the 10th time. These people literally should never ever be allowed to own and possess a firearm. The fact that they have a mental illness, the fact that they mentally cross-play or identify as the opposite sex when they aren't, just goes to show that this dude This dude should never bought a gun in the damn first place. Yeah, this dude should never. And looking at the picture at his college graduation with the son, the wife, and the ex-husband who cross-dress and identifies as a girl, that's disgusting. It's sickening. Yeah, that is like, ugh. Yeah. The fact that this cross dresses and identifies as a girl and has mental illness. I hate to say this, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to say this. These people are mentally unhinged. These people are mentally insane. These people are fucking damn nuts. Yeah, literally. These people are out of their damn fucking mind. They literally are. The fact that you have, okay, a guy who pretends to be a girl has mental illness, divorced from his wife. No wonder why trans terrorism is a threat in this country. No wonder why trans terrorism is a huge threat in society. These people should not be allowed to own a gun. These people should have their gun rights stripped away from them. The fact that these people are owning a gun that have a mental illness and that they claim and identify to be the opposite sex, that alone should preclude them from owning a gun, ladies and gentlemen. That alone should literally ban them from owning a firearm. The fact that these people think that, oh, it's okay for them to own a gun. Yeah, these people should not be allowed to own one. These people should never. I don't care if you're a sane trans person. For you to take cross-sex hormones, surgery, and basically have mental illness and have a high suicide rate, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You should not be allowed to own a fucking damn gun. Your right to own a gun should be literally restricted. Okay? As someone who carries a gun and carries a concealed carry permit, yeah, that comes with responsibilities. That comes with knowing the rules, the regulations, the laws, passing a background check by what? Your local police, state police, and the FBI? Yeah, that comes with responsibilities, ladies and gentlemen. That comes with responsibilities. But the fact that these people like own a gun and use it to commit horrific mass shootings? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Safety and security should come first before your rights and your damn fucking feelings. Safety and security should come first. And I know there are some lefties who are listening, and they're probably going to be saying, "Oh, you're a bigot, transphobe, Islamophobe, and this and this and this." I don't give a flying ass fuck of your feelings. I don't, ladies and gentlemen. I don't give a flying ass fuck about your feelings. Your feelings don't matter to me, okay? My rights, my safety, and security matter. And the fact that how this mentally ill trans got a gun is going to be the biggest question that I want to fucking know. How this asshole who got a gun, okay, is going to be the biggest motherfucking question I want to know. Because the fact that this guy who identifies as a girl, who got a boob job, who like basically like wears his hair long like some 80s heavy metal band, and who probably like dresses like he's some 80s heavy metal cross dresser, Trust me, guys. That dude should not have been allowed to own a gun in a fucking damn first place. That dude, that dude should have been like, nope, you don't get to own a gun. Yeah. But the fact that trans terrorism has now struck again, the question now remains, ladies and gentlemen, the time we need to start talking about banning these people from owning guns. Okay? Make it a policy where if you walk into a psychiatric hospital, you're banned from owning a gun. And the question remains, why would you give a mentally ill transgender person a gun who has a high suicide rate? Answer that question for me, guys. Why would you? Why would you give a gun to someone like that? I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't give a gun. I wouldn't give a gun to them, even if we were in a zombie apocalypse. I wouldn't give a gun to these people. These people don't deserve to have guns. These people don't deserve to have a right to own a gun. The fact that they have a high suicide rate tells me that we have deeper issues in this country. We have issues that we're enabling these mentally ill men who have a violent fetish, who have a violent mental illness, who have a porn addiction in this country. Okay? And they're going around like harassing, doxing, threatening, intimidating anyone who doesn't pander to their fetish and mental illness. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, dudes. These people should be banned from owning a firearm. These people should be literally banned from walking into a gun store and buying a gun or possessing a firearm. Yeah, there are faults in red flag laws, but I think like this: there should be a system where if you walk into a psychiatric hospital or admitted to a psychiatric hospital, your gun rights should be ripped away from you. Your gun rights should be revoked away from you guys. Literally, man, your right to own, possess a firearm should be ripped away from you. These people who basically, ladies and gentlemen, okay, have mental illness, have a deep-seated mental illness that they pretend and claim to be the opposite sex, much like schizophrenics. Yeah. And we don't normalize schizophrenia, but society normalizes mentally ill men who cross-dress, who cosplay, who identifies the opposite sex, and then they give them a gun. What the fuck, man? What the fuck? Seriously, what the actual fuck? Because I'm telling you this, guys, and I'm telling you this as a DSD person, as someone who has a concealed carry permit, who carries a burner LE, that comes with responsibilities. That comes with legitimate responsibilities. And the way I see this, folks, and the way I see this, if you're mentally ill, if you cosplay and identify as the opposite sex, and you have comorbidity mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar, you should not be possessing a AR-15, a Glock, or a SIG, or Smith & Wesson, or an assault rifle. You should not be possessing that. People like that should not be allowed to own a firearm, period. I don't care what any lefty or righty says. These people are mentally unhinged and they're mentally unstable. And the fact that this dude who goes by some pretend female name, and I'm not going to name it because I don't want copycats and all that shit. I'm going to dead name him for what he is, because he's a mentally ill trans terrorist. He's dead, and we're going to dead name him for what he is. Because I'm telling you, man, these people should not be allowed to own one. Yeah, these people. And then the victims of the trans terrorism who died, and his like what pretend name. Yeah, he goes by the name of what, Roberta Esposito, which I go like this: he doesn't get to identify like that. He doesn't. But I will say like this: this dude, yeah, this dude is mentally insane. Look at his picture. Look at him. He doesn't even look like a girl. He looks like some 80s rocker dude. Yeah. And the fact that he is mentally unstable, yeah. I'll read you this article from Post Millennial. Breaking: victims of trans shooter of Robert Dorgan identified by Pawtucket police. Pawtucket Police Chief Tina Gornclave said that the two people killed were Robert Dorgan, who was Dorgan's ex-wife, and their adult son, Aiden Dorgan. And they identified him real quick. And the funny thing is, the liberal media wants you to call him by his gender name, by his preferred name. I go like this: go fuck yourself, you liberal media, because we're gonna call him by his legal name. We literally are. But I'm telling you this: even the family knew he had mental issues. Read you this article from the Daily Signal. Trans family dispute. Rhode Island ice rink shooters troubled legal history. Okay, read you the headline. This is from Tyler O'Neill. The man who opened fire at a Rhode Island ice rink during a high school game Monday night killed 2 family members, injured 3 others before turning the gun on himself, identified as transgender, and had multiple family disputes regarding his gender identity. Robert Dorgan, 56, also went by the name Roberta. Pawtucket Police Chief Tina Gornclave confirmed in a news conference Monday night. Police described the shooting at Dennis M. Lynch Arena in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, stemming from a family dispute. Dorgan allegedly opened fire during a hockey game between Coventry and Blackstone Valley School. And right here, court documents show that his transgender identity played a key role in multiple family disputes. So basically, it's like this: trans terrorism and trans cult are the 2 most violent groups in this country. Okay, and to me, the trans cult has blood on their hands. Yeah, the trans cult has blood on their hands. And the trans cult, oh my God, yeah, have blood on his hands. And and you couldn't even look at his picture. His picture is so damn ugly. My God, it would make me puke my stomach out. It would. It would make me puke my brains out. But I will tell you this, man. I will tell you this. The trans shooter basically had a sick obsession with his ex-wife, because his ex-wife didn't want to pander or go along with his fetish and mental illness. Okay? His ex-wife divorced him, which is good. Didn't want anything to do with the mentally ill dude who cosplays, cross-dresses, who identifies as a girl. She didn't want anything to do with it. She paid the ultimate price by being killed by him, and her adult son died in the process. To me, guys, that is terrorism right there. That is terrorism in a nutshell, okay? That is terrorism to the 10th degree. And the fact that the ex-wife and the adult son died along with him and then injuring the grandparents says to me that this dude has mental issues that should have screamed taking his gun rights away, taking his right to own a fucking gun away. And I'm betting you right now, the feds are probably investigating this and going, how the fuck did he get a gun to commit this horrific mass shooting? How did he fucking get a gun in the first place? That's going to be the question right then and there. And luckily, guys, there was a bystander who stopped this mass shooting from going from bad to worse. And I'll read you this headline from the New York Post. Hero bystander who stopped the trans dad shooter, Robert Dorgan, describes the miracle moment that spared the lives. Read you the first paragraph. The hero Rhode Island dad whose quick thinking helped stop the trans maniac shooting rampage at a high school hockey game recounted how his hand accidentally caught the gun's chamber in the miraculous moment that prevented more bloodshed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that, guys. Thank you for that hero. And I'm sorry if you guys heard my phone going off. I do apologize for that. And I do apologize if you hear the phone went off. That's my apologies right there. But I will say like this, guys. This hero saved more people from being massacred. This guy is really the true hero, guys. This guy is really the true hero. He saved more people from being massacred, from being like shot up and killed. That's the real hero right there, ladies and gentlemen. That is the real hero in all this. But I will say this, guys. Trans people should be banned from owning a gun, period. They should be banned from owning a gun. I don't care if they're sane or not. I don't care if they don't have any comorbidity mental health issues. The fact that they're trans is enough for me to say no. They don't deserve to own a gun. Their gun rights should be stripped, and they should never be allowed to possess and own a firearm. Now, if you want to bitch at me, you want to call me every phobic shit, be my fucking guest, but it ain't gonna hurt me, because the reality here is that these people should never ever be allowed to own and possess a firearm. And this is why, guys, I tell people these people should never be allowed to own a gun. Now I own a burner LE myself. I own a gun, but it's less lethal. But I still treat it as if it's a loaded gun, because that's part of going through a concealed carry permit class. That's part of going through a pistol permit class, guys. That is. But the fact that this guy had mental illness, had deep-seated mental health problems, had every mental issue in the damn fucking book, that just tells me, ladies and gentlemen, these people have problems. These people have so much problems in the world that these people literally, guys, have problems. Yeah. The fact that this dude who cosplays and identifies as a girl went through a messy divorce and then shot and killed his ex-wife and his adult son and injured his grandparents tells me, ladies and gentlemen, these people should not even be in possession of a firearm. And here's my question in all this. How did he get past the ATF form to own a gun? Does, doesn't the ATF have part of the form that says if you've seen a mental health clinician, that you're supposed to check that box? If he lied on that ATF form, that's technically a crime. Lying on a federal document, ladies and gentlemen, that's technically a crime. Yeah. So it makes me question, guys. How the hell did he own a gun? How the hell? He shouldn't be allowed to own a gun, but now you got, like, what? The ex-wife, the adult son dead? Along with the trans terrorists? Yeah. How, you got that there sparks me saying, yeah, they shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. They should never be allowed to own and possess a firearm. Now, less lethals like burners, that's another question in itself. That's another topic. That's another podcast episode. But right now, my thinking here is this. You got a mentally ill trans dude who cosplays, pretends, and identifies as the girl, shoots up and kills his ex-wife and adult son, and then ends up taking his own life, which saves the taxpayers from having to house, clothe, feed, and fight to stop him from going to a women's prison. Yeah. That to me is like this. That to me is somewhat of a plus. But the other side of all that, they still should not be allowed to possess a firearm. And these people who think that, oh, I can own a gun, I could own a gun. No. If you have a mental illness, if you pretend to be the opposite sex, you take dangerous cross-sex hormones, go through dangerous surgeries, and then on top of that, have comorbidity mental illness and have a high suicide rate, I'm sorry. That alone should ban you from ever owning a gun. That alone should say, nope, your gun rights are restricted permanently. And if you want to own a gun, then you go in front of a court to explain why you want to own a gun. And then it's up to the judge to decide whether you're allowed to or not. Pretty self-explanatory. This is why I tell people like this. If we want red flag laws in this country, this is my version of red flag laws. If you walk into a psychiatric hospital, your gun rights are taken away from you immediately. Law enforcement comes to your house, takes your guns away, and holds them in a locked storage facility. Pretty much simple. And if you want your gun rights restored, you have to go to court to explain why you want your gun rights back. That means getting a lawyer. That means going in front of a judge. And you have to explain to that judge, Your Honor, I want to restore my gun rights. My competency was restored. I have documentation to prove that I'm sane, that I'm not a threat to society. And if the judge agrees, they will let you. But if a judge disagrees, you got all the appeals process in the world. There you go. And that's why this is my version of red flag laws, not the leftist anti-gun nuts version. My version is using the courts, letting the courts decide, okay? Letting the courts do it. Because the courts document everything to the T, and it's documented right there. So people can't say, like, oh, this and this and this. It's all documented right there to the T, ladies and gentlemen. It is all documented to the T. But the way I look at it, guys, this dude screams a reason why he shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. And I'll read you this from Post Millennial. Andy No reports, Rhode Island trans shooters post shows years of excessive humiliation of his murdered ex-wife. Yeah. And if social media posts shows him having sick obsession of murdering his ex-wife, yeah, these people are the reason why they shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. Yeah. And I'll read you the headline. Less than a week after a transgender identifying gunman in British Columbia, Canada, killed 8 women and children before turning the gun on himself, another transgender shooter opened fire in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Five people were shot at a youth hockey game. 2 were killed. And then reading this paragraph, as with Jesse Van Wasteller, Robert, air quote, Roberta Kevin Dorgan, 56, left behind an extensive social media record that allowed the public to peek in his mindset. Just one day before the Monday shooting at the Dennis M. Lynch Arena, Dorgan responded to Kevin Sorbo, who had referred to Delaware U.S. Rep. Like Tim, air quote, Sarah McBride, who is a transgender as a man, and he writes, keep bashing, and then Robert writes, keep bashing us, Dorgan wrote, but do not wonder why we go berserk. Oh, we wonder why you go berserk. Because you're mentally unhinged. You're mentally unstable. And if you have violent writings like that on social media, that alone should be the fucking reason why you should be banned from fucking ever owning a gun. That reason alone, ladies and gentlemen, is clear justification. It is. It is clear. It is the clearest justification in the world that you should be banned from ever owning a gun. You should be stripped of your gun rights. Yeah, you should. And the fact that this trans mass shooter posted it all on social media for everyone to see, that's evidence right there in itself. That's evidence that he wanted to shoot up his ex-wife and murder and humiliate her. That alone should be enough to say, no, these people should be banned from owning a gun. These people should be restricted permanently. These people should never, ever be allowed to own and possess a firearm. Pretty much, guys. Yeah, these people should never be allowed to even be near a gun. Even if we were in a zombie apocalypse or a World War III scenario, I'm sorry, these people would be the last people to own a firearm in my book. These people would never ever be allowed to own one. And I hate to say this, guys, and I really hate to say this, as a DSD person who owns a burner LE and is a card carrying concealed carry weapons permit holder, if you have a mental illness and if you're writing violent tendencies on social media like that, and you're writing that you want to murder and humiliate your ex-wife, I'm gonna say it like this: fuck you, and fuck you, because you shouldn't be allowed to own a gun. You should be stripped and banned, and the cops should come to your house and take whatever firearm that you have. And if you try to buy a gun, you should be thrown in prison for it. Pretty much. But this is what we're seeing in society. We're seeing mentally unhinged, mentally unstable trans acting out their violent tendencies just because people in society don't want to pander to a mentally ill man who cosplays, identifies as the opposite sex, who wants to force, threaten, bully, dox, and intimidate women who don't pander to their mental illness. It's pretty much that simple. It's pretty much that simple here, guys. They This dude who's now dead, along with his ex-wife and adult son, and his grandparents are sitting in the hospital. This dude is now going to meet his maker, and his maker is going to pass judgment on him. Yeah, as they say, karma's a bitch, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world. Yeah. So anyway, moving on, guys, I want to talk about these two articles, okay? This one from Gateway Pundit and this one from the usual New York Post. I want to talk about this article, the Gateway Pundit. Armand Dillon launches inquiry after left-wing activist admits reporting Turning Point USA students to Child Protective Services in Maryland. Okay? Reaching the headline, right? The radical left in Maryland has reached a new low. A local activist proudly admitting during a public school board meeting that they reported Turning Point USA chapter to Child Protective Services. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Matt Dillon, is now looking into the matter after the outrage testimony went viral. The activist identified by the Post as Nancy Krause claimed that on December 2025 student event hosted by Turning Point USA raised concerns because it was marketed to high schoolers and allegedly limited audience to students with supervision provided by volunteers rather than the parents or guardians. And then she further raised objections over participation of Board of Education members as the guest speakers at the event and questioned whether allowing such engagement without parental access complied with district policies and ethical guidelines. So let me get this straight. You have a left-wing Karen by the name of Karen Krause, who's a retired nurse, uses her position as a nurse to report high schoolers to Child Protective Services, claiming that they were running a group and that they were being abused. You have to sit here and wonder this. If I did what she did in Connecticut, you know what would fucking happen to me? I would be thrown in prison and sitting in a prison cell either in Enfield, Connecticut or Chester, Connecticut. Okay? Because reporting of false child abuse to Child Protective Services, that's a crime. And what she did in Calvert County, Maryland, it's a crime. Reporting a false child abuse allegation, that's a crime. Yeah. That's a crime. And the fact that she said this openly in a Board of Ed meeting, abusing her nursing position, folks, I'm going to say this up front. If I saw her say that at a school board meeting, we would be going full-blown WWE, and by the time it all is said and done, she would be in a hospital with two broken legs and sitting in a wheelchair for the rest of her fucking life, eating through a straw. Dude. And the fact that she did that to high school kids who started a Turning Point USA chapter and reported them to Child Protective Services, that's a false abuse right there. That's filing false abuse charges. That's saying that, these kids are starting a Turning Point USA. They're committing abuse. It's a Turning Point USA chapter. Or is it the fact that you don't like the students starting a Turning Point USA chapter, but you're okay with starting with an anti-ICE or an Antifa chapter in school? This piece of shit should be thrown in prison. Okay? This piece of shit should be thrown in jail. License ripped up right in front of her damn eyes. That piece of shit should be sitting in a federal prison somewhere for violating those high school kids' civil rights, for starting a Turning Point USA club. It's okay with starting an Antifa, anti-ICE, or a leftist club. Man, these people, in my fucking opinion, should be thrown in prison. And I'm glad that the DOJ is looking at it. From this article from the New York Post, Trump DOJ official looking into why a Turning Point USA chapter was reported to Child Protective Services. I'm glad she's looking into it, because you know why? These lefties want to violate everyone's rights and feelings. These lefties think that, oh, it's okay to start an Antifa chapter, anti-ICE, or whatever lefty group. The minute that you want to start a Turning Point USA chapter or a conservative group, they get a hissy fit. They report your kids to Child Protective Services, make up false accusations. False accusations alone is a crime. And in my state, if I did what that retired nurse did, oh, my EMT license would be revoked in 2 seconds. I'd be sitting in a prison cell in Cheshire, Connecticut, or in Enfield. But this retired nurse from Calvert County, Maryland, is sitting free because what she did last month. I'm looking at the Calvert County Sheriff's Department. Isn't that reporting a false abuse allegation a crime in the state of Maryland? Because I know if I did that in the state of Connecticut, it's a crime. I would be sitting in prison. I'm wondering, does Maryland have that same law? Does Maryland have that same rule in place? I'm wondering, because what she did last month in Calvert County, Maryland, smiling at the school board, saying openly that, yeah, I reported those kids to Child Protective Services because they were starting a Turning Point USA chapter. I'd go like this. Somebody should report her for filing a false child abuse allegation. Someone should report her to the state nursing board. Someone should file a complaint to the state nursing board that she filed a false child abuse allegation to Child Protective Services. Because I'm telling you this, if she did that here in Connecticut, and then DCF turns around and find out there's no abuse, you call the Connecticut State Police, call her ass. So I'm wondering, in Calvert County, Maryland, do you have laws similar like that for people who file false claims, who file false child abuse claims? Do you guys have laws like that in Maryland? Because I know in Connecticut, if I did that shit, and I know as an EMT, if I did that shit, you think I would be standing here in my diaper onesie and podcasting to y'all? Fuck no. My ass would be sitting in Cheshire, Connecticut, or Enfield in prison somewhere. My ass would be sitting there. Yeah. But the fact that this retired nurse is fucking getting away with this shit? Man. Nah, man. Her license should be revoked immediately. Her license to practice nursing should be gone. On top of that, there should be a criminal investigation into her for reporting Turning Point USA, for making a false child abuse allegation. That alone should send her to prison for that. That alone should make her fucking lay up in court. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm glad Trump's DOJ is going after this son of a bitch. I'm glad that they're going after her. And I'm glad they're going to take her ass down one way or the other. I'm glad. But I will keep y'all informed on this, and I will be keeping my listeners informed. All right? So moving on, guys. Moving on. I want to talk about this one article, okay? From the Connecticut Mirror. To recruit first responders, Connecticut waives tuition and mortgage assistance. This is the problem in all this, ladies and gentlemen. It costs a lot of money to live here in Connecticut. We're like what, the second and third costliest state to live in the country besides New York and California? Yeah. And the fact that they're trying to recruit firefighters and police officers, but then the problem is they're leaving out EMTs and paramedics. This is just Band-Aid on a bleed, ladies and gentlemen. This is Band-Aid trying to fix a bleeding problem that is constantly bleeding, but they're not solving the actual problem in all this. The actual problem in all this is that it costs too much to live here in Connecticut. It is so expensive to live here in Connecticut. The cost of living here is so sky high that if you see how much it costs to live, how much electricity you have to pay, the amount of taxes that you have to pay, it don't matter if you're a police officer or a firefighter, which is paid or volunteer. It costs a lot of money here to live here. And to give like what? Tuition assistance and mortgage assistance? It's just Band-Aid on a bleed. You want to solve the real problem here? Cut taxes, cut regulations. Okay? Cut the cost of living. You do that, no, people would come back to Connecticut. They'd want to work. They probably want to work like what? Police officer and a firefighter? Hell yeah. What? Because it's so costly that you want to give tuition assistance to state colleges and universities and mortgage assistance? That's Band-Aid on the bleed. And then the other problem here, guys, is that vast majority of volunteer firefighters and or paid firefighters and police officers white. There's hardly any Asians, blacks, and Hispanics in law enforcement, firefighting, or EMS. There's hardly any. You want to fix the issue by giving tuition assistance and mortgage assistance? No. If you want to fix the reason why people aren't going into police, fire, or EMS, fix the diversity problem. There, I said it. I used one of the leftist talking points. But as a libertarian, diversity is different for me. If you want to fix this, let's fix the diversity problem. Let's fix the reason why blacks, Hispanic, and Asians are not interested in law enforcement, fire, or EMS. Let's fix that. Okay? You can't solve this problem by throwing tuition waivers and mortgages. You gotta fix the diversity problem with it. And the diversity problem is that not a vast majority of police, fire, and EMS in Connecticut is all white. There's hardly any minorities in them, okay? There's hardly any. I'll give you one example. I live in the state of Connecticut, in Hartford County. I won't name my town, but my town's volunteer fire department is all white. There's no black, Asian, or Hispanic. Solve that problem for me, Connecticut. Governor Lamont, solve that problem for me. Why are all volunteer fire departments or police departments all white, but you hardly see any black, Hispanic, or Asians? Solve that problem for me. Solve it. Because here's the thing, and I'm going to read you this paragraph. Lamont's bill, HB 5046, would waive tuition to the state's public colleges and universities for people who have worked as police officers for at least 5 years and for people who have served as paid or volunteer firefighters for at least 5 years. The bill also authorizes the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority to create a mortgage assistance program for police officers and firefighters. But then this bill also leaves out EMTs and paramedics. So you wonder why people don't want to go into that profession. Okay? You wonder why. You see minorities like Black, Hispanic, and Asians, they rather go in the military because, hey, the military gives better benefits. Yeah, the military pays them better than police, fire, and EMS, and the prestige is a lot better. Yeah. So the fact of the matter is like this. They want to solve this problem by giving what? Mortgage and tuition waivers. But then they're not looking at the fucking damn elephant in the room, which is that they have a recruiting and retention problem. They can't be able to recruit minorities because minorities don't see police, fire, and EMS in a good light. They see them in a bad light, and they see them in a horrible way, and they see them in a way that is like, ugh, that turns them off. That's why you don't see a lot of minorities in police, fire, and EMS. And then they wonder why they can't get people to come in. They can't get people to join. But the military can get people to join readily, but they can't get people into public service. So to me, ladies and gentlemen, this is Band-Aid on an issue. This is Band-Aid trying to fix a problem that is staring them in the face. And to me, as an Asian American who's also an EMT and a firefighter, who's also a member of the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary, I'd rather be in the Coast Guard Auxiliary and with the Coast Guard than I would rather be with either police, fire, or EMS. It's because they don't value minorities. They don't take in minorities like me. And you wonder why people like me who are Asian American, who have EMS and firefighting background, no volunteer fire department would ever want to take minorities like me. But they'll rather take a white person who has similar background to me. Yeah. This is why, guys. This is why I tell people, and I tell people straight up, that Connecticut needs to fix their diversity problem within the police, fire, and EMS community. If you don't fix your diversity problem, whatever other problem they're trying to solve it with, whether it's through tuition waivers or through mortgage assistance, it's not solving the recruiting and retention problem. It's not solving the fact that they're not recruiting in underserved communities, that they're not starting high school EMT programs in, say, inner cities, but they started in suburbs and all that. It's not solving it, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. And to me, guys, the way I see this is Band-Aid on a problem that's never going to fucking go away. This is Band-Aid on a problem that's never going to get solved. That it's going to be an ongoing problem until they fix the fucking elephant in the room, which is the fact that police departments, fire departments, and EMS squads don't recruit from underserved minorities, okay? Don't recruit in like underserved groups. They don't. And if you heard that ding on my message notifications, I do apologize for that in advance. I'll answer that like when I'm done with the show. But they don't recruit in underserved groups. But I will say this, guys. I will say this. as an Asian American who's also an EMT and a firefighter and a member of the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary, I like the Coast Guard more than I like my volunteer fire department, because my volunteer fire department would never recruit people like me, would never try to get me in very fast. They would never. But they would always get someone who is like white, who is well connected. That's the problem we have with police, fire, and EMS, is that you got to know somebody to get in. But Asians, blacks, and Hispanics, we don't have that connection. So that's why it's hard for minorities to join police departments, to join fire departments, or to join EMS squads. It's because they don't have that connection. And maybe what the governor should do, instead of offering like tuition waivers and mortgage assistance, which is all good, but maybe fix the recruiting problem. Fix why minorities aren't interested in police, fire, and EMS. Maybe ask a minority, or ask like people like me who are Asian American, why are we not interested in police, fire, and EMS? What can they do to make it more interesting? Fix that, and then offer tuition waivers and mortgage. But if they don't fix that recruiting issue, then that recruiting issue is always going to dog them. It's always going to be that shadow. It is always going to be that problem. And that's why if they don't fix this issue, then they're never going to fix the problem in the first place. They're never. Wow, that was a good long show, guys. That was a good long show. And wow, I hope y'all enjoyed today's show. All right. And I hope y'all love this show. And I want to thank you guys for listening and tuning into Nikki's World. Okay. So I want to thank y'all for listening to Nikki's World. I'm Nikki, your host. I will see y'all soon. Bye for now.
You just listened to an episode of Nikki's World. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all soon. Bye for now.